So imagine living in a country that's made up of 1,000 small islands, where the average ground level is 1.2 meters above sea level, and the tallest mountain you can conquer is a mere 2.4 meters high. I'm talking about the Maldives, the lowest and the flattest country in the world. Now, when I think about the Maldives, I picture myself lying down on one of its beautiful tropical beaches, sipping away on an icy cold mojito while watching the waves roll in. Unfortunately, due to predicted sea level rise, the Maldives, along with its beautiful beaches, will be completely underwater by the year 2100. And just to clarify, that is within the century. Without land, the country cannot survive. The Maldives is located around 600 kilometers southwest of Sri Lanka, and its archipelago is dispersed over 750 kilometers. The Dravidians of India and Sri Lanka were first to arrive to the islands over 2,500 years ago, and they were soon followed by the merchants of East Africa and Arabia who came to the Maldives for trade. Now, when you look close at one of its atolls, you will notice that they're made up of many small islands, varying from 1.4 to 2,800 square kilometers. And these islands also have very specific functions. To name a few, there are islands solely for landfill, fuel depots, and even prison islands. Highlighted in red is the capital of the Maldives, Malé. It is home to 130,000 people, all squeezed into this 2 square kilometer area. You can just see how vulnerable this place is. So can anything be done to save the 400,000 people of the Maldives? The Australian Immigration Department have predicted that they will have to take in the people of the Maldives as global warming refugees if no other solution has been discovered. If the Maldives moves, the Maldives is lost, along with its 2,500-year-old rich culture. So when a country faces a threat so total and so radical, maybe the best solution is one that is equally radical. My perspective is to relocate the people of the Maldives and their associated culture onto obsolete semi-submersible oil rigs. I believe as humans, we're responsible for our Earth. I believe as architects, we have the capability to make a difference. A difference that maybe, just maybe, can even preserve an entire culture. So as part of my Master of Architecture thesis program, I was very interested to explore the idea of reusing an existing technology such as an oil rig and responding it to the current and projected crisis of the Maldives. And how does one begin to embark on this mammoth task? I'm going to take you through a brief step-by-step process of my attempt to demonstrate how the people of the Maldives and their culture can be moved onto the parameters of a semi-submersible oil rig. Semi-submersibles, also known as semi-subs, are the most stable of the 7 offshore rigs. They float in depths of 30 to 2,000 meters, and they're also transportable like this guy here, Thunder Horse. The largest semi-submersible in the world was recently transported all the way to the Gulf of Mexico from the coast of Korea. But just like the rotten milk in your fridge, oil rigs also have an expiry date. This expiry date relates to the oil drilling operation used, but I believe the superstructure still has the potential to be recycled and to be given a new life. Transocean was recently on its end-of-life voyage to the shipyards in Turkey from the coast of Norway. And this is what was left of it. Not a pretty sight. So rather than destroying these oil rigs into scrap metal, why not recycle them? It would be like buying an old car from a car dealer. A new car smell, but an old car bargain. So as part of my research, I based it on this prototype, which is 60 meters high, but 80 meters long, and the platform level is around 9,000 square meters. Now, once you lift this platform level up, there's existing structure which holds all the mechanical equipment required for oil drilling operations to take place. But since we're not drilling for oil here, this equipment's not required. There's also a drilling void which allows all the pipes to be deployed deep into the sea rock in search of oil. And this posed an immediate opportunity to use this void as vertical circulation hub in the new oil rig, which I'll come to a bit further on. There are water desalination plants, electricity generators, and black water treatment facilities all on board. But I wanted to take it a step further and propose cleaner ways to harness energy, such as solar, wind, and even maybe energy harnessed from the ocean currents. So now that the parameters of the oil rig have been established, the next challenge was trying to figure out how to get the people of the Maldives and their culture to fit with the parameters of this oil rig. As a starting point, I looked at Male and examined all the key functions and ratios that exist within it. And these ratios were then placed onto the oil rig in an iterative form. But then I thought to myself, was this the best way to go about it? In order for people to be more familiar with their new surroundings, I looked closer at a suburb in Male called Mafanu. And the three-dimensional spaces that were explored here really highlighted what people are used to. So then the oil rig was then inspired by these spaces in an attempt to convey a feeling of home into their new environment. Mafanu literally translates to where the village path meets the ocean. As you can see, there are many visual and physical connections directed towards the sea. This organic layout was initially placed directly onto the oil rig. And then after many iterations and further development, it turned out to be the public realm of the new Maldivian rig, where it also had visual connections to the sea and a strong link to the mosque, since Islam is a main practice of religion in the Maldives. The central void has now been converted into the vertical circulation core, allowing people to be transported to the different levels, but more importantly, down to the ocean, where the port is appropriately placed. So one arrives to the rig via boat, gets to the port, and finds an elevator to his or her desired level. Market life is a very integral part of the Maldivian way, hence why it forms the heart of the oil rig. Locals prefer fresh fruit and vegetables to be delivered from all over the archipelago on a daily basis. Fisheries is the second largest industry in the Maldives. Having the fish market located on the edge of the rig allows the daily catchment to be transported directly into the fish market like so. And at the same time, remnants can be washed back into the ocean efficiently. So now we get to the housing levels. As we noticed earlier in Male, we saw that the buildings were mainly made out of concrete construction, and this is maybe due to time and cost pressures. This means that the Maldives has succumbed to modernity. Coconut timber, which was once an integral traditional building material in the Maldives, has been reintroduced back onto the oil rig to form a connection to the Maldivian past, and at the same time it works well because of its lightweight nature. So a couple more levels of housing, and we get to 225 houses, which can hold up to 1,050 people. Also noticed earlier, we saw that there were particular islands in the Maldives which have a specific function, right? I believe that idea can also be adapted here, where we redesign these rigs for a specific use. These could be livestock rigs, vegetation oil rigs, education ones, and even maybe prison oil rigs. I believe this is required for a more holistic floating community. And coming to think about it, oil rig hopping doesn't sound too different from island hopping. So we require 400 rigs to house the entire population of the Maldives. There are currently 370 waiting to be demolished, with 160 in use, with newer and larger ones being built each year. So this suggests that there are more than enough to start refurbishing and to start deploying to the shores of the Maldives to provide a smoother transition into this end of the century. This project might seem like a long shot to many of you. So too did the personal computer a generation ago, and the television a generation before that. With just over 80 years left before the possible disappearance of the Maldives, there is still time to come up with fail-safe solutions to keep the Maldivian geographical position on this earth. And the Maldives isn't the only country to face this problem, but many low-lying Pacific atoll nations also require immediate attention. So today I'm here to acknowledge that I, amongst millions of others, are born into a throwaway world. We're part of a society and a generation that is highly influenced by consumerism and overproduction of short-lived items. So I would like to challenge the architects and designers of this generation to be bold, to question the implementation and production of new material, and to find fuses between existing technologies with neglected resources. Resources by which today's standards has been consigned to oblivion. Thank you.